baby. We are back. We are back. We are back. Today, what we're going to talk about being retired in Korea. There's a number of topics here. First one, Eivor is done. But I've got one more thing, and he is totally done. But as far as creative wise, Eivor is done. We'll talk about that, show you some pictures. We're going to talk about Thai immigration because that is an issue that I predicted, and it's coming to pass along with some other countries. But Thailand is yeah, they're doing it. The won is up, which is bad for Korea, but good for those with U.S. dollars. We're going to talk about real estate in Korea and the advantages of a high exchange rate. We're changing from U.S. dollars to won, and how you can benefit from that as an American expat or that is trading dollars for won, and what are some of the benefits of that. So yeah, that's what we're going to talk about. And by the way, my name is Steve. I'm the retired hobby tech guy, American expat living in Korea, rocking a vanilla latte this morning. So almost got the beans dialed in. Almost, so close. It is still a really good latte, but it's something that I need to work on. So with that being said, American expat living in Korea. For those of you who don't know, I was working the American 9 to 5. Actually, I worked more than 9 to 5. I joined the U.S. Army when I was 17 years old. I did a career. I retired after 20 years, so I retired just as I hit 38 years old. Unfortunately, it wasn't enough to retire, because I was enlisted, and doesn't give you enough money. So I still remember when I was in the Army, I was married, we qualified for food stamps because the Army didn't pay us enough. So it's been quite a journey. Then what I ended up doing is did real estate investment for a number of years. That failed because of family and embezzling funds and all kinds of crazy stuff that went on. And then I did a number of other jobs. I also worked for the Colorado State of Corrections, Department of Corrections for Colorado for over 11 years. I went everything from a guard to a lieutenant to electronics specialist. And after that, I did prison ministry for a number of years. I couldn't get out of the prison. It was funny. That was an interesting thing. And then I worked private security, upgraded security. I was also a firearms instructor, Krav Maga, CCW. I was contracted as part of an instructor team to teach military police at Fort Carson, which we had about 800 students on how to shoot, move, and communicate, dynamic shooting, basic marksmanship fundamentals, and then, of course, uniform layouts because everybody was ate up a soup sandwich. Magazines were in all kinds of different, there was no standardization, and we're able to get those soldiers up and running. And so that was really fun. So while doing all that, it was, as I was looking down the road towards retirement, it didn't seem like I could retire until it hit my late 60s, maybe 70. And the reason was because of the ever-increasing expenses in the United States. For example, property tax would go up minimum $100 every year. So if you start doing the projections and you look at the averages for the increases in your expenses like gas, water, trash, utilities, all of that stuff, your phone, your TV, streaming services, excuse me, if you do all that and you get an average of those increases and then you project that out to the time of where you want to retire, most people are finding out that they can't retire. So that's where 3/4 of the seniors who are eligible to retire are finding out that they can't retire. So that's where the overseas retirement comes in. So there more and more people are retiring overseas because you get more bang for your buck, and that's what we're going to talk about, the exchange rate from U.S. dollar to won and how that can benefit you. But with that, long story short, we ended up retiring overseas. We sold everything in the United States. House, car, guns, ammo, everything in the kitchen junk drawer. We put stuff in a couple of suitcases. We spent a year on Oahu. Our daughter let us live with her as she was going through residency, so we got to be on Waikiki, and we spent, a year there. It was incredible. We really wanted to retire on Oahu, but real estate was insane. And the prices of everything, because everything has to get shipped to Hawaii, was insane as well. So as much as we wanted to retire on Oahu, it just wasn't feasible for us at all. And then there's also some political problems with Oahu. There's the homeless problems, and there's, the crime is getting pretty bad. And we saw it just within the year we were there. Homeless, crazy people. I mean, places that were considered safe were now not considered safe. Places where we would walk from our condo in Waikiki down to Waikiki Beach used to have no homeless at all. Now you've got tents everywhere. And it's just, unfortunately, the state government is not doing anything. The city government is not doing anything. And they got big police presence on Waikiki Beach, but other places they don't. And that's very problematic. So a lot of crime. It's just not as beautiful as Oahu is, and as great people, the nationals, the natives, the Hawaiians, the real Hawaiians, the people that are there, that do the work, the everyday people, they're awesome. But the problem is that you've got too many rich people coming in and buying all that stuff. So, we spent a year on Oahu, which was great. We didn't have to pay rent. Again, we lived with our daughter as she was doing residency, and then we came to Korea to retire. So that brings us to where we are now. And let's get into RIK, retired in Korea. So the first thing we're going to take a look at is Eivor is done. And for those of you who don't know who Eivor is, this guy over here is Eivor, which is a model that I resin printed, and it turned out really well. And so if we can make some of these bigger pictures there. I ended up finished painting this guy yesterday. So, we got the blood splatter on there, the fur, all the little details, his brooch, the hair turned out really good. And this turned out to just be a great, great model. So we got some other pictures here, and we'll kind of go through those. There's another one there, kind of the 3/4 view. Painting this guy, I did this yesterday, actually over a span of 2 days, or 2 painting sessions. And this turned out really good. The only thing that I have left is to do a satin varnish on it to lock in all these colors. But yeah, look at the details on this. This just turned out really, really good. And I'm really, really happy with that. So yeah, there's another one there. I'll just blow that up, and you can see some of the details on there. And got some blood splatter and all that. Netventive says, truly a piece of art. Oh, thank you. Thank you. Yeah, that just turned out so, so good. I was just super happy with this. And I didn't go into this with like a paint scheme or thinking about it, which is what I tell people to do. I was just like, I saw this on my shelf, and I'm like, man, that's been sitting there for year and a half, 2 years or whatever. I should probably paint it. Well, actually, no, we've been here over 3 years. So it's been over 2 years for sure. So yeah, it was time to paint this guy up. And again, the details on this worked out really, really well. And I used Army speed paints, which was incredible on the shading and the details that I could get with those paints. And it's user friendly as long as you get your zenithal process squared away. So I was really, really happy with the results that we got there on this character, Eivor. And man, this was really, I really enjoyed this. This was a really good, even got the tattoo on the side of his head. It just turned out great. So yeah, there it is. We finished up Eivor, which was an awesome little project, and I've got a bigger version of him. Matter of fact, if we take a look at, where is he at? Oh, he's over here. And take a look. There he is. And as you can see, he turned out really, really good. And yeah, it just had a real good time painting this. And he is the bomb. He is the bomb. So that is definitely going to go onto the area. But with that, we have a surprise because here is another Eivor. And this guy is a lot bigger than his little brother. So this is FDM printed here. This is resin printed. So yeah, you can imagine what this guy is going to look like. And I'm really looking forward to painting this guy. So I need to clean up some stuff on this guy, but basically I'm going to be using the same paint scheme on this guy as I did with this guy here. So yeah, it is going to be sharp, 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 sharp. And this is going to be, man, that is just going to be so cool. So yeah, pretty excited. We had some real good stuff with that. The Eivor character came out really good. Again, the Army Painter Speed Paint 2.0. Almost Retired 78 says, did you print that sculpture? I printed both of them. This one was resin printed, and the other one was printed on my 3D printer with filament, PLA filament. So yeah, little tiny resin dude here. And then the big guy back there was printed out on my Creality K2 Plus. So yeah, it was pretty good. I like it. And eventually, and I've got the Hulk back there. Hopefully I'm going to end up doing the Hulk because I did print out a Hulk. Matter of fact, let me show you that. So this is a resin printed Hulk that I did. And what I ended up doing is this was kind of like my first real big one into airbrushing, into getting the different colors. And of course there was some brush work, but the Hulk turned out really, really good. I mean, it just, and the base is really nice. This is going to be a cool character. So I was super happy with this, and I really love the Hulk. And with that, I decided to print out a larger Hulk with a 3D printer. So we did this one, and I'm going to paint this in the same like that other Hulk. And it's just, you know, we already got him primed and painted. He's been sitting around for a while. He's angry because I haven't painted him. But yeah, this is going to be awesome. And I would love to take this guy and make him about 5 feet tall. If you can imagine that. That would be incredible. So, but now, I'm kind of wondering, because I would like to do the Hulk like 5 feet tall. And I did some estimates on 3D printing that. That would be incredible. But it's just massive amount of time. I'm excited to see the big guy painted. Oh yeah, yeah. Especially how well he came out with the with the small version. But the problem with doing like a 5 or 6 foot tall Hulk, or, you know, oh, could you imagine doing this guy life size? Oh, that would be awesome. That is seriously, this could be incredible. But the printing would take a long time, which it's just a matter of time. You know, you get the file, you cut it up, and you do all that stuff. The problem is not really necessarily the printing. The problem would be the painting, because if you have something that's life size, 5, 6 feet tall, I'm 6'2", and if we did Eivor, or if we did the Hulk back there, have him being 5 or 6 feet tall, the logistics in painting that would be crazy. So, putting all the pieces together and getting it together and gluing it and sanding it, that's just time, which I'm okay with that. But the painting is going to be definitely a weird thing to do. So I don't know. We'll see. Now I'm really kind of thinking about maybe doing a larger Eivor. We'll see how that goes. Like maybe big size person, and we'll see, because that'll be less filament than the Hulk. But again, the logistics of it, of trying to, paint that. This is like little brushes and little tiny airbrush and stuff like this. Painting something huge would require a ton of paint. So now we're looking at getting away from the little, 17 milliliter paint bottles and the 60 milliliter paint tubes and whatever. It's not a big deal. But now we're looking at something that's going to use a massive amount of paint. What paints do we end up using? And are we going to get the same colors? We're not going to get the same colors as we got with the speed paints. And, unless I just buy speed paints, which would be way over expensive. Because the speed paints, Army speed paints, are, I don't know, $5-6 an ounce or something like that. The regular Army paints are like $6.73 an ounce. So if you have something that's 5-6 feet tall, you see the problems I'm running into. So really looking into that. So retired says sell. Yeah, there's a possibility of doing that as well. I might throw something up and see if I can do that. That would be interesting. But that kind of takes away from our thing of, well, it doesn't really, because Eivor's done. We ran a little bit about some 3D printing stuff, but now we're going to talk about Thai immigration, because Thailand was one of the places that I was considering on retiring overseas. It just didn't click. And initially when I looked at it, it was like, oh, okay, that could be a good place. And they had good retirement visa. But then, I don't know. Then we found out we could come to Korea because of the wife's Korean ancestry. So that clicked more. So we went there. We came here. That's where we are now. But I still wanted to have like a backup plan. So I looked at Thailand, and I've made videos about this in the past. And I was like, government seems a little shaky. And, the neighboring countries, Cambodia and Thailand are kind of, had some problems in the past, and those hadn't really seemed to be solidified or stable. And then there was problems. There was problems in Thailand, and it would be, I don't know. I just had this feeling, and based off of things that I had seen in the news and the research that I had done. Of course, that time, with the economy being bad and people retiring overseas, looking for overseas retirement countries that had immigration policies that had a lot of gray areas. So people doing visa runs or border runs. So they go to a country on a tourist visa, which is, say, like good for 30 days. And then after 30 days, they would go to Cambodia. They'd get back to Thailand, do another 30 days, do that whole soap, lather, rinse, repeat thing. And expats would stay there for years, 5-10 years or more, through that gray area loophole. And as I was looking around, I noticed, and I said that immigration in many countries would tighten up those loopholes. Some of them would get rid of them, and Thailand was no exception. And that's why I kind of held off on Thailand. Of course, there's other problems that were, afoot in Thailand. And I've made videos talking about this. But we're going to look at Thailand right now, because it is going to be interesting when we talk about Thailand. So with that, here we are. Come on. There we go. Thai immigration steps up visa run scrutiny. I told you this was going to happen. This was years ago. Renewals can't to be capped to 2 as authorities close loopholes exploited by foreign criminals. And it's just not foreign criminals. there's the criminal element, gang members, drug dealers, blah blah blah. But yeah, it is quite the thing here. Oh, I forgot a comment. Sorry about this. Adventive says it would be hard to sell your personal art. Yes, it would be hard because I love it. So I don't know, and it takes some time, but yeah, I guess if I run out of space, maybe I could do that. I don't know. Back to Thailand. There's Thai immigration, and we've been to Thailand. You know, we've been to Phuket and Bangkok, and so that was kind of fun. Immigration has intensified visa screening to deal with foreign criminals as part of a campaign against cybercrime and so on and so forth. But it's not just cybercrime. They have a new policy aimed at preventing foreign nationals from misusing Thailand's visa exemptions for illegal activities, which is going to be a little bit far overreaching because how do you... Hey, are you here for illegal, illicit activities? Why, yes, I am. Well, you can't do visa runs anymore. Oh, no, I guess I'll just have to go back to my own country. No, this is going to affect a lot of tourists, and it already has, that are abusing the visa runs. Immigration authorities will now impose tighter scrutiny on foreigners who repeatedly enter and exit the country under the guise of tourism. I said this was going to happen, and it is. Police data shows that many individuals have exploited the visa-free policy, which allows up to 90 days per entry to conduct what are known as visa runs. And in places where there are large expat populations like Pattaya, Phuket, Hua Hin, a thriving industry specializes in package trips to the nearest border to take care of these visa formalities. Some expats have lived in the country for years, making dozens of tourist visa renewals every year. And I've talked about this. I've actually seen people who've said they've been in Thailand for 10 and 15 years, the longest being 16 years, saying that they would just go to Cambodia. Again, a little package tour. They just, go there, spend the night, come back, and then they've got another 90 days. And that is how they've been able to stay in Thailand for, 5, 10, 15, 16 years, which is amazing. The ease of repeated entry to Thailand has created loopholes enabling some to engage in illicit activities, including online scams, blah, 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 unlicensed business operations, which, expats have been doing that too. To close these loopholes, immigration checkpoints at airports and borders will now deny entry to travelers who make more than 2 visa runs without a valid justification. And that's going to be really hard because it's going to get to a place of where it's like, you've been here, 180 days already, or longer. How much tourism are you going to do? And eventually it's, 2 is going to be it. And unless you can come up with a very good reason, it really looks like they're going to turn away a lot of people. Those who are affected will be required to apply for appropriate visa for business, retirement, education, marriage, and so on before returning. So here's the kicker. Since the beginning of this year, officials have already refused entry to roughly 2,900 individuals for abusing the tourist visa and doing border runs or visa runs. I told you. This is another thing. Additionally, foreigners flagged on national or international watch lists will be prevented from entering border areas notorious for scam operations and so on and so forth. So they're doing more in-depth background checks. And as the world gets smaller, because we're becoming more connected with databases and good people and bad people and people everywhere in between, digital ID is going to come into play. This is going to make it harder and harder for people to misuse the tourist visa systems of these countries. And again, and basically the people that do this are the people that don't have enough money to get a normal retirement visa. And that's something that we need to talk about a little bit because the income requirements for Thailand it's not much. For the Philippines, it's not much when you consider the grand scheme of things. But when you have to misuse or use these loopholes to stay in the country longer, that generally means that you don't have enough money to begin with. The income levels are set. So it proves to the country that you're in that you can provide for yourself with housing, food, medical insurance, all of those things. That's what those things are there for, so you don't become a drain on that country and its tax base, its citizens. We've talked about that in the past, like kind of like Korea. Why should Korea or any other country for that matter have to pay for people to be on welfare? If you can't make it in the country that you're going to or you're in, you should be deported back to your home country. As a general rule, there are some exceptions like refugees, political persecution, but again, you need to assimilate into the country that you're going to. So, learn the language, be a good, decent person, don't break the laws, blah, blah, blah. A lot of us expats here in Korea, I'm retired here in Korea. My wife is Korean ancestry, and we assimilate into the system. We're not a drain on society. We don't use welfare. There's income requirements that come along with us being able to stay here, and the Korean government's totally fine with it, and so are we. But the problem is that when you have people that can't pay, those are the ones that are skirting the rules. And generally, the lower income people that do this, the more problems you have. So you have a lot of crime that goes on in Thailand. That's another thing. You have a ton of people from a bunch of different places, and there's a high increase in crime because, let's face it, there is a correlation between what people have and or don't have and crime. It's a thing. So Thailand, like I said, is going to be cracking down on these things. Immigration offices across the country have been instructed to carefully review all applications for temporary stay extensions. Applicants showing patterns of consistent visa runs will have their extensions denied or revoked, followed by deportation. Yeah, it's going to be a thing. National crackdown on overstayers will also be intensified, with the Bureau pledging to regularly report results to the public. So yeah, it is. It's gonna be a cut and dried thing. They also said that the new procedures will only slightly slow the passport checks at airports and ports of entry. He says screening will remain efficient, taking no longer than 45 seconds per person, with queue times capped at around 40 minutes. Additional personnel will be deployed to minimize delays. So these measures are not an aim to discourage tourism, but to attract quality visitors who contribute positively to Thailand's economy. So they're getting rid of the riffraff, is what it comes down to. Yeah, the riffraff, you're going to have some problems. And those people that, whatever reason, you're not making enough money, you're going to have to find some other country to go to. Because as I said before, many years ago, you're going to have countries that are just loosey-goosey with their immigration and crime enforcement, law enforcement, and so on and so forth with foreigners and expats. Because it's like, it's not that big of a deal. Now it's a big deal. Now it is a big deal. And the knee-jerk reaction now is you can't do visa runs. You can't abuse that for years and years and years. You have to prove, you got a couple of visa runs here. Why do you want to do another one under a tourist visa? And it is what it is. You have to follow the laws of the land. I know there's already scuttlebutt by expats that have lived in Thailand, for 5, 6, 7, 10 years or more, that they're going to get back. They're going to do a visa run. They're going to get back because that's all they've ever done for these years. And then they're just going to say, nope, you can't. See ya. You're unless you can apply for another visa on the spot, which is going to be rare because you've shown a pattern of abusing the tourist visa system. They're just going to say, hey, see ya, and you're going to have to leave. So all of your stuff, your apartment, the stuff, pictures, whatever it is, clothes, all the stuff that you have in Thailand, you're probably not going to get that back, and you're not going to be able to say, well, I understand, let me go to my apartment and get my stuff and then I'll just self-deport. No, they're not going to let you do that. It's just sayonara, have a good day, you can't come back. And that also is going to go on the books. You're going to be registered and put on the international list as somebody who has abused the visa system of Thailand, and that's going to be forwarded into databases that other countries can take a look at. So good luck trying to scam the tourist visas and doing visa runs in other countries if they connect up to this database. Again, the world's getting smaller and interconnected. It's going to be a thing. Terry pops up and says, "Hey, how's it going?" Good. It is. We are having a good time. Let me make that a little bit smaller, and we'll move that there. I think we're good. Yeah, we're doing really good. Good to see you aboard. Always welcome. We're talking about how Thailand now is ramping up they're tightening the belts, trimming the fat, getting rid of the riffraff, and those who are abusing the tourist visa border runs or visa runs. And yeah, it's going to ruin some people. It is going to ruin some people. But again, that just shows that they don't have enough money to meet the normal income requirements for retirement, which begs the question, how are you getting your money? And there's a lot of unauthorized businesses by expats who are abusing the visa system, the tourist visa system. And that's coming to a close. I called it, and a number of other people did as well. But I said this is going to come quick, fast, and in a hurry. And wow, that's what we end up seeing. So yeah, that is really interesting. And then the other problems that you have with Thailand is the continued problems between Thailand and Cambodia. Thailand just ended up saying to Cambodia, hey, the 100,000 workers that have worker visas coming into Thailand to work, those are done. So because of a landmine incident on a border, people got hurt or unalived. They're still going back and forth. And so, that whole border area between Thailand and Cambodia is not a good place to go, in my opinion. And according to the State Department, kind of the same thing. So is Thailand totally off the list of a retirement destination? Absolutely not. There's people that do that. But when you have a number of reports out of Thailand talking about how foreigners and expats are having their bank accounts closed or frozen, or now that, no more visa runs, no more border runs, differing information come out of different immigration offices. Totally opposite. There's even people that are reporting and having problems with renewals when they have authorized visas to stay in Thailand. And then even though they have the authorized visa, we're talking non-tourist visa, where you're allowed to have a Thai bank account and so on and so forth, their accounts are being frozen. Or they're not being allowed to open Thai bank accounts at all. So how are you going to pay your bills? How are you going to get your money? You can always do the Wise thing in the app. But again, all of these hurdles that you have to jump, people are just going to say, you know what, I want to retire. I don't want to deal with the bureaucracy. I don't want to, have to bang my head against the wall every time I have to get a renewal for my visa, for retirement. And so people leave, and that's what they're doing. A lot of people have left. A lot of people, Thailand tourism has gone down exponentially, and it doesn't look good. And we still have a ton of people in Thailand from other countries that are not quality tourists. Let's just put it that way. And so that is dragging down and diluting the image that Thailand has had for being the nation of smiles. So I don't know. CB pops in, says Japan has begun to crack down on bogus business visas recently as well. That is absolutely true. The recent article that we talked about with the new prime minister and like 20,000 Chinese businesses and their families that have abused the business visa system just so that they could get welfare and schooling and healthcare in Japan. Japan is doing the same thing. They're saying, hey, we don't have the money to do this. Money doesn't grow on trees. It kind of does because it's a fiat money system. But that aside, suddenly, instead of having like $30,000 or so to open up a business just that doesn't make any money. In other words, it's a fake business just so you can get you and your family, to buy property in Japan, to stay, to have free schooling, to get welfare and subsidies and so on and so forth. Japan is now pulling the rug on that and saying, no, we're increasing that to $250,000. You have to make, like 2 or 3 million yen a year to prove that you're a viable business. You have to employ at least one Japanese citizen. And they're going to phase this in, I think, by like 2 or 3 years. But a number of these businesses aren't really businesses. And that's just the Chinese. Lord knows how many other nations, peoples have been abusing that business visa of Japan. But like I said, everybody's going to be cracking down to some degree on illegal immigrations, the gray areas, the loopholes that everybody's been doing, and now the hammer's coming down. So yeah, CB is absolutely right. It just makes me question what other nationalities have been doing the fake businesses and stuff like that. Let's see. I just got a message from Red Bull. Hey, official of the varied life. I've been watching some of your latest content. Appreciate how generally you share your ideas. That style resonated with a small creative direction I've been discussing with a couple of people. Oh no, it's not an official project, just something I thought might be worth mentioning with someone whose style feels similar. It's curious if I can outline what we've been brainstorming and get your thought, get my thoughts. Take your time, write back whenever you feel like it. Send your reply to collab@redbull-team.org. But what is the address that this was sent to or sent from? Felix.truong@sfr.fr. Okay, yeah, that's spam. It's funny. I'll get emails a lot where it's like, hey, we've been watching your channel and we're intrigued and we love, your audience and everything that you do. And we think the product that we have will really resonate with your viewers. And it's like feminine hygiene products. And it's like, you have no idea what my channel is about, do you? Of course, it's all just bots and all that stuff. But I just get a kick out of that from time to time. Yeah. Terry says there's an exodus of expats from the Philippines and a drop in tourism there as well. Yeah, they raised their income levels on some stuff and raised the deposit amounts that expats need to put into Philippine banks, authorized Philippine banks. And yeah, they're cracking down on unauthorized businesses as well. Tourism has gone down. And I just don't understand because the Philippines is incredibly beautiful. We were going to go there. Of course, they had the super typhoons and whatever. So, yeah, we might not go there until maybe January, February. We'll see what happens. Maybe we'll go to Bohol because there's a direct flight from Korea to Bohol just to get some beach action, some little sun and fun. Hopefully everything will be rebuilt by then. But there's so much corruption in the Philippines, too. That's another thing that has popped up, and that is hurting tourism. Philippines made a law, and I think that has hurt tourism, of where you can't videotape somebody. And if you video somebody, let's say you do a blog or a live stream, somebody's in the shot in the background, that you have to provide a link. And if they email you or contact you and say, hey, I saw my image was on your video, I don't want to be on it, that means you have to either blur me out or take down the video. That's a law that the Philippines now has, which is going to kill tourism, because think of all the bloggers, think of all the good people. Now, granted, all of this started because of Vitaly, the idiot Russian, guy who, was harassing people, breaking the laws of the Philippines, threatening people. He stole stuff from stores, and now he's sitting in prison awaiting trial, which is, I love it. He's going to be there a few years before he even goes to court. So he's gone down to nothing. But yeah, the knee-jerk reaction was, he's a streamer, people are videoing this and putting it on the internet. Well, the knee-jerk reaction is now you have to blur out basically everything, which, okay, you have very few idiots, very few bad apples. The majority of people, you have bloggers, you have families, you have this, and it's just a thing now that social media, hey, I'm in the Maldives, or I'm here, or I'm at Bohol, or Palawan, or El Nido, or whatever, and look at these awesome beaches, and we're going around talking to people, or whatever, showing the hotels and the restaurants. If anybody's in the background, you got to blur it out, or offer a way in which you can have to take down the video if they complain. I don't know how you enforce that internationally, but it's just a thing where people are like, no, I'm not going to put up with that. And there's punishments for that as well. So again, that is going to kill tourism. I called that out as well, and like some of you have, it's just not going to go well. But yeah, there's an exodus of expats. And again, the visa run things and the whole thing, they're going to clamp down on their enforcement of immigration, or their lack of enforcement. And they're going to start enforcing these things. And they've raised some of the rates for income and deposits. It's just going to be rough. CB says in regards to Japan, just an office, a chair, and a phone in many cases. Yeah, it's just fake businesses that they made up in Japan just so they could get their families over there to get welfare, subsidized housing, free education, healthcare, the whole nine yards, without contributing back to the society. And that's the whole shtick. That's the whole deal. If you're not contributing to the country that you're retiring in or doing business or whatever, you shouldn't receive welfare, in my opinion. Bad things happen, I understand, but that's why, like in my visa, we have to provide federal tax returns. We have, multiple years of that. We have to show the last year or 2 years of bank statements showing money going in and out. We have, savings account, how much do you have saved, what investments that you have, to prove that we make more than the GNI, the gross national income of Korea, so that we don't become a drain on the Korean taxpayers. And the other visa that I want to end up getting is the Korea F513 visa, which actually requires, it's a long-term permanent visa, 10 years, and you have to renew it, with getting a new photo and fingerprints and stuff like that. And there's a fine if you don't do that. So people that say the F513 you don't need to renew it, that's absolutely false. I found that on a number of government pages, and also according to our Korean immigration lawyer, you do have to update it after 10 years. But it's good for 10 years, and you're considered a permanent resident. But the income requirement for that is twice the gross national income of Korea, which is around 72, 74, 76,000 a year. So that's the one that I'm going to be trying to go for once we, buy another apartment and stuff like that. So we'll see how that goes. So I have to buy an apartment, rent it out, and then also get my Social Security. I should be able to meet that income requirement. But there's a possibility that we own this apartment that we live in. I'm going to check and see if that can be used in conjunction with to lower the twice the GNI income rate. So it's a slight chance. I don't know. It's just a question I asked, and we'll see how that goes. But yeah, it is Thai immigration, Korean immigration. There's crackdowns on that as well. We've talked about that in that, the hammer is dropping on a lot of countries. So yeah, it's definitely a thing. It's just, you're just going to have to get used to it. So you're going to have the scammers. You're going to have the people that are in the Philippines or Thailand or, Korea, which I got to talk about something. I've noticed this. It is really prevalent in the Philippines. You have a number of YouTubers. I know I'm a YouTuber. And a number of YouTubers in the Philippines that seems like they're on the lower spectrum of the income level. Not saying that all people like that are bad, but you have a number of these YouTubers that are like, oh, we're digging a well, or we're doing this charity program or charity drive, and send me money so that we can, help these poor people in the Philippines or poor people in Thailand or whatever country that they're in. And yeah, oh, this is the orphanage that we funded, and blah blah blah. And there was one guy, and I forget his name. It was a long time ago. He approached me and he says, "Hey, I want you to do videos. We're doing a charity drive. I help build orphanages and so on and so forth. And here's a video and pictures of the orphanage that we made, and we need to continue to support them." And something just felt wrong. It's kind of like milking a bull. It's just something's not right. We're not getting what we should be getting out of this. And so I look up the orphanage and I do some research, and I found out that it was actually sponsored by another organization. It wasn't even him at all. He just took that video and sent that, and then he went to the orphanage on his YouTube channel and took videos and shaking hands, and he gave gifts and stuff, pretending to be the guy that, oh, I funded this this orphanage, and we send money, and look at all the toys we give, we need your help. It was all a big scam, in other words. So I guess what I'm saying is, if anybody approaches you for the Philippines or Thailand or any of these other countries, I haven't seen it in Korea, so that keeping our fingers crossed, we don't have people like that will try to scam you and tell you to, send me money so I can do this charity over here and help the poor and the impoverished and all this. And it's not a nonprofit organization. There is no committee oversight. There's no accountability to anybody. Do not donate to those people. Don't. There's a number of people like Sunshine Shoulders in the Philippines, and a number of other people that are, big YouTubers over there in the Philippines. There's more than enough information to show that these people are not using those funds to help people. And again, there was a guy that was caught, I think it was in the Philippines, where he made a video of where he's handing money over to where I guess it was a school or an orphanage type thing, and supposedly that was the guy. No, it wasn't even a person who worked for that orphanage, and he's just giving money over there. Of course, nobody's oh yeah, thank you. He goes, yeah, we support the orphanage, the school, or whatever. It ends up it was nothing. It was all a scam. So be very careful on what people show you on YouTube and claiming and say, hey, send money because we're helping out the impoverished people of X, Y, and Z or whatever. And it's not an official nonprofit organization. It's not an official charity. It's just an individual. The whole guy, Sunshine Shoulders in the Philippines, oh, this is all I do. It's in my heart to help the people of the Philippines, blah, 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 blah. And then people were saying, hey, wait a second, the things aren't lining up at all. And then he goes on and he makes a video, and then he's crying, and oh, my heart bleeds for these people. No tears, but he's crying. So I'm just going to leave it at that. There's people that you just can't trust. Let's see. CB says, I would be leery of full financial disclosure in any poor, corrupt place. That info could easily leak out into the wrong hands. Maybe I'm just paranoid. No, you're smart. It's not paranoid. You're smart. You have common sense along with everybody else that watches this. Yeah, it's just absolutely crazy. Let's see. So yeah, be careful with people that are on YouTube, including myself. Of course, I don't ask for donations for charities or anything like that, maybe to buy me a cup of coffee with a link, but pretty much I just ask for likes and subscriptions to my channel. That's it. I especially as individuals there's no accountability, there's no oversight of what they're doing in regards to charity work that they do. Like I said, there was the guy that was caught where, he didn't even open up that orphanage. He just went there, bought, $10 worth of toys and pretended that he was the guy. Oh, look at these lovely children. He had nothing to do with that. But he got a ton of money from ignorant people, unfortunately, well-meaning people that got scammed because of this ignorant ass And yeah, it's just don't donate money. Anyway, let's move on because otherwise I'll get hot and bothered. So Ramon, good morning, Steve. Finally managed to catch you live, making my breakfast smoothie and heading to my workout. I'll try to catch you in between sets, but you are an artist. So jealous. It takes a little time. Again, we ended up doing the Eivor character, and that turned out really good. It's a little washout on the color because of the bright light. But yeah, it turned out fantastic. Oh, let me throw up a picture because he just turned out so well. Just kind of again. There is the Eivor dude. And yeah, he turned out really good. I mean, a couple of painting sessions and we were good to go. I'm so happy it just turned out really well. Yeah, Eivor is done. So yeah, good to see you. Just take some time. A lot of YouTube videos, copy and paste, and just copy what somebody else is doing. There's nothing new under the sun, as some great book put out at one time. Let's see. The other stuff we're going to talk about, real estate in Korea. That is kind of an interesting thing. But really it comes down to the real estate. People have asked me about real estate in Korea, and I've had people say, well, I heard that foreigners can't buy property in Korea anymore. Actually, that's in the big areas of Seoul, like Gangnam and some of the richer neighborhoods where real estate is just hyperinflated. Everybody wants to be in Seoul. That's so far out of my budget. It's not even worth talking about. So they are restricting foreigners from buying properties. We're talking about buying properties for investment. Buy a $5-10 million house and then just hold on to it for a couple of years. It goes up in price and they make a killing. So they've raised the interest rates. They've limited the amount of properties or the permission that foreigners can buy properties because a ton of people were from foreign nations, rich foreigners were buying properties in Seoul, and so they wanted to kind of reel back on that. So they raised the interest rates and they kind of did that. But outside of those areas, foreigners can still buy property. So it just depends on location. But if you've got 5, 10, 15, 20 million won or dollars to buy such an apartment or condo or whatever in Seoul and Gangnam, wow, you've been doing good. It's way past my budgeting. But yeah, the real estate is getting really interesting. The interest rates are higher. Matter of fact, the 3 Korean banks, like Bank of Korea, is it Nonghyup Bank? Maybe not them, but there's 2 other banks that raised their interest rates for housing into where it hit basically 6%, and that's like the first time ever. So the interest rates are high. Usually it's like between 2 and 4%, but now it's kind of like 3.9 to 6%. So the interest rates are higher, so it costs a little bit more to get housing, but property prices in Seoul are still going up, and other places, maybe 1.2 to 2.3%. It's somewhere within that range. It depends on where. And with the super aging society, there are places that are available for sale that you can get deals. But the best way that you can get a deal now is to take advantage of the Korean won exchange rate, which is huge. This is very problematic. And this also ties in with the deal that Korea has with the United States. They haven't even signed the tariff deal yet. Supposedly it's approved, but nothing has been signed. And where the United States wants $350 billion for Korea to invest in the United States, but that is a huge chunk of their budget. And that could cause problems. So Korea's like, hey, we can't float that much. So there's still some negotiation that needs to be done. But in regards to real estate, I mean, the Kospi, the Korean stock market exchange, has gotten some real high returns, and it's kind of dipped a little bit. But the problem is that usually when you have big returns and have a strong stock market, the exchange rate for US dollars is kind of low. it's probably around 1,100 won per dollar. It's not. Holy crow. It is really getting problematic. Korean won edges up from near yearly low following authorities' verbal intervention. And let me see if we can make this a little bit bigger. Move this over. South Korean won rose against US dollar Friday, rebounding from its levels near its lowest in 16 years. Yeah, it is. Exchange rates are crazy. The won opened up at 1471.9 per dollar, down 4.21 from the previous session, down to 1474, the weakest level in 7 months, as it closed at 1484. On April 9th, the level also marked the lowest point, where the won was 1496.5 per dollar amid the global financial crisis. The currency strengthened and quoted at 1459. Talked about some stuff and vowed to actively use available policy tools and drop measures to stabilize the won. It marked the first verbal intervention by foreign exchange authorities since October. So, yeah, we got a little bit of downtick in the Kospi, but the exchange rate is still going up. And it's when you get into those high levels, that is something that is just really, really weird as far as that. So, yeah, local currency dipped below the psychological significant 1451 threshold last week for the first time since April and has been on a steady decline amid heavy foreign selling of Korean shares following recent sharp gains. So, yeah, it lost some 2.53% of the Kospi, which is a thing, but still that exchange rate is actually kind of crazy. So, yeah, it is, it's just kind of a weird thing that goes on. If we take a look at the exchange rate right now, let's just redo this. It's 1457.65 per dollar. That is a thing. That is a thing. But with that, I mean, that's good for people that get U.S. dollars, like my wife and I and other expats that come from the United States, or Koreans that became U.S. citizens and now they're back in Korea, retired here or whatever on their F4 visa or whatever it is, they repatriated back to Korea. I think at age 65, Koreans can get dual citizenship with Korea and the United States, so there's that. But most people that lived in the United States and worked and retired and now they're coming back to Korea, they're getting paid in US dollars. So it really benefits them and people like us to take advantage of these high exchange rates. So, but yeah, the housing is going up, and I think there's an opportunity here where, what was it? I saw a news article that was talking about that it takes 14 years, like 13.9 years, but basically 14 years. If you saved everything that you made, in other words, you worked and you saved everything, you could buy a house in 14 years. We're not talking about bills or anything, just everything, the gross that you make, you would be able to buy a property. And again, there's the discrepancy of, are you living in Seoul? Are you living out in the country? Prices vary, but that is increasing here in Korea when it comes to property. So home ownership is harder to get with high interest rates. So that is kind of putting a little kink in the armor, and people aren't able to buy properties, apartments, or homes like they used to. And so the older people seem to have more home ownership than the younger generations that are coming up. And younger generations, because of the high housing and the high interest rates, they're more into renting. And the problem is we see that housing over the time that we have been here, which has just been 3 years, but hell, even the 5 or 10 years for the last 5 or 10 years, housing has steadily gone up. And so you're getting to a place of where it's harder and harder to get housing here. And with the high interest rates, the rental market is doing really, really well because it's taking longer for Koreans to be able to save up money and get a loan for a property. So the rental market is doing really good. So that presents an opportunity, along with the great exchange rate that we have, to buy property and rent it out. Again, you got to do your own due diligence. And that is something that we're going to do. We're planning on doing. We checked out a number of properties. Our money is going to be freed up come February. So hopefully shortly after then, we'll find a good deal, because you got to find a good deal. You got to find a motivated seller. And with the economy the way it is, we're still not in a real good position here in Korea for the Korean economy, which presents, higher interest rates. That's something that people are like, I can't afford the interest rates, or whatever it is. They got to pay back loans, or the deposit system, the Jonsei and the Wolsei system of renting is still a thing here. And if people, they're selling properties because they can't maintain them. Korea is debt rich and cash poor, basically. It's a thing. Rob Peter to pay Paul, and hopefully in the end it'll all work out and everything will go up in price, and then you'll be good. But people are finding out that this is not the case, and so there are property deals to be made. And so we're planning on buying another apartment. We'll rent it out. Hopefully we'll pull in about $1.1 million, which is about $1,400 a month, minus 10% for management fee. Minus, some other money to set aside for an emergency fund for vacancies or repairs or whatever it is. Excuse me. And then, so after all is said and done, we should net about $1,000 a month off of one property. And that's if we purchase an apartment, 3-bedroom, 2-bath, in a good rental area around Camp Humphreys, for soldiers and all that stuff. We should get a return of about 5.37 or 7.3%. I can't remember exactly. But if we finance a property and put half down, and we buy 2 properties that way, so the same amount of money, but we just leverage and get 2 mortgages and buy 2 properties, we could get like 13.4 something percent return on investment. So we're thinking about that. But with the high interest rates, that, the funny thing is, if we buy the 2 properties, if we could do that and get it at a good price point and get good price on the properties, we would still make $1.1 million a month net after all the expenses if we put half down on each of the 2 properties. But where we really make a return on investment is that the appreciation of the property over the years is the equity is going to build and build and build. And yeah, we pay a little extra. So let's say we do the 10% for management fee, and then whatever's between the management fee and, let's say we already have an emergency fund saved up for each property. So that's already set aside. And then that difference between, I don't know, what would that end up being? I had the numbers, I forgot to bring it up. Let's see. Let's just say $1,400 minus 10%. That's $1,260. So basically another $250. We would take $250 and throw that onto the principal of each of those properties, so that we would pay it off in an accelerated fashion, and then we still get $1,000 a month profit. That would be a good way to go. And looking at a 30-year loan, 20 or 30-year loan. So yeah, it's something that we're kind of mulling over. If we buy one property and pay it off in cash, there's less risk involved. We would still get $1.1 million or $1,000 a month profit, but then it'd already be paid off. So you're looking at about probably $1,200 a month, $1,250 a month that we would net after the management fee expenses, and then there's taxes, which would probably be around 30%. So just kind of throw that into the mix, and it could be pretty decent. But I think there are some opportunities in Korea, especially if it's in a good rental area. I think it's a good way to go. It'll be a good way to go. At least that's what we're going to try, and we'll see what happens. But they say cash is king. Cash is king, You might not end up with a real good return on investment. Like I said, it'll be like 5.37% return on investment by buying a property outright versus buying 2, and the appreciation that comes each year. will basically be double that, 13, 14% or whatever it was. That is, makes more financial sense. So we'll see what happens. CB says, I'm headed out to my nearby restaurant before breakfast time special ends. Have a good day, Steve. Yeah, I'm going to be heading out here pretty soon as well. We got our workout to do and need to pick up some stuff. So yeah, thanks for stopping by. I appreciate that. And the information on Japan and all that. So enjoy your breakfast. Good stuff, good stuff. So yeah, it is kind of interesting what is going on with all of this and with the exchange rates in Korea, the strong U.S. dollar, the low won. How is that going to help expats that are already here? Terry asked a question, would you be able to write off depreciation for the apartment on your taxes? That is an excellent question. That is a question that I've asked, and I'm not sure. So, because there is a tax treaty between the U.S. and Korea, you're going to pay taxes to somebody. And because it's a Korean apartment, we're making Korean income, we would pay Korean taxes. Let's say it's 30%. I don't know how they do depreciation, if any. But if I pay Korean taxes, say it's 30% off the profit of the apartment, I would get a tax credit on my U.S. taxes, so I don't get double taxation. But that is a good question on depreciation. The depreciation in the United States, you can write off X amount per year based off, over 30 years, whatever it is. We've done that before. But I'm not sure how that would work here in Korea. So that's a question I don't know. And I'm still trying to find out the answer to that. And that begs the question, if I can't write off depreciation here in Korea and I get a tax credit, would I be able to claim that depreciation on my federal taxes in the United States? I don't think so, but I don't know. So I need to get some professional advice on that. So, it's going to be interesting. probably have to find a tax person that is versed in Korea and U.S. taxes. So, that's another thing that's on the list that I need to check out. Because right now we're pretty good. But again, I think the investment property would be good in renting it out, whether we buy one and pay it off or two and mortgage them 50%. It's all part of the plan. There is a plan in play. And since our apartment is paid off, that frees up a lot of money for us. We're actually able to save money every month out of our retirement funds, which is good. So we got a good chunk of savings. But let's say for some strange reason, I'm benching 500 pounds and, boom, I have an aneurysm or whatever. I'm not. I'm planning on dying in my sleep at 85. Fully healthy, just go to sleep and just not wake up. That's the plan that we have. So, but if something went wrong, this place is paid for. But if we got another apartment and would rent that out as part of my end of life thing, in case something screwy happens, then my wife would still be able to have two apartments and ultimately to have them paid off. So she could live in a 3-bedroom, 2-bath, downsize, and then rent this place out, or just stay in this place and rent out the other to give her income, additional income on top of the other stuff. So she would be set. And likewise, if she goes before me, we have plans in place for that as well. Life insurance money and so on and so forth. So, but the depreciation thing, that is a very, very, very interesting thing that we can take a look at. Good question. Excellent question. We got such a smart audience. You guys are awesome. Let's talk about some of the things for taking advantage of the U.S. dollar to Korean won exchange rate. And because some people have asked me, well, what advantages do you have when you have that exchange rate, and what does it look like tangibly? So I'm going to go over some of the notes I have. Talking about daily living and your expenses, because you have basically 10, 15, maybe even 20% more bang for your buck with these high exchange rates. That means compared to like 2020 and 2022 levels, your rent, your food, your utilities are going to be cheaper than what they were before in like those previous years. So yeah, that's a huge thing. When you're talking about retirement, it doesn't cost you as much to live with that high exchange rate. Another thing is that if you have a Korean bank account that you can exchange US dollars to Korean won, you're going to get more Korean won. And if you get more Korean won, you can put that into your Korean bank account and put it into a high yield savings or government bonds. Usually you can get 3, 4, 5%. You get better returns on your money. Again, you have to shop around for the best deals, but that is another consideration as well. So just exchanging US dollar to won, it's going farther for your expenses, your food, and all of that stuff. But if you put it in Korean banks, you can get a better return as well. So compared to regular Koreans. If you're interested in buying Korean stocks and things like that, which I don't do, but if you do that, you're getting more stock for the money when you exchange from US won to dollar or dollar to won. And then the big thing is buying property in Korea is probably your biggest thing, is that you're able to purchase more because you're getting more Korean won for the dollar, so you're getting better real estate deals. And especially in a poor economy, a bad economy that we're in right now, there are deals to be made. Now, there's some places in Seoul, obviously, that's way beyond my wheelhouse or budget. But pretty much when the economy is bad, you can find good deals. So just don't settle for retail. Settle for discounts. Look for that motivated seller that needs money. Look for properties that that might need work, but have good are in good areas for good rental returns. That is a good way to go for it. Again, foreigners can still buy property in Korea. There's just areas of Seoul, like Gyeonggi Province, parts of Incheon. Non-resident foreigners now need prior government approval to buy property, and they must prove that they will occupy it or move in within 4 months. And this targets speculation, especially by Chinese buyers. So this is a huge thing. China and Korea has been going at it for a while. Korea was mad at China because Chinese come over here, they buy property in Korea, but Koreans can't buy property in China. So there's a little bit of, little angst. The other question that pops up, people have asked me and said, well, what about people that are on education visas or the F visas like we have? Generally, you're treated more like residents of Korea on those visas, so getting permission to buy property is a little bit easier than just foreigners speculating and investing in real estate in Korea. When you live here and you're on a visa, getting that permission is going to be easier. And for I'm not going to be in Gangnam. I'm not going to be in Seoul. We're down here in Anjuni near Pyeongtaek. Getting the permission to buy property or the authorization as a foreigner is not going to be affected as of now. So again, it's just, you want to buy? Okay, no problem, do it. Outside of Seoul, the rules are much more open and no permit is usually required. But foreigners still have to get permission, but it's pretty much just a check the box, stamp it, boom. You put in the paper, you've got the money, the financing, they stamp it, and it's good to go. Okay. Americans remain the second largest group of foreign property owners in Korea after the Chinese, with over 22,000 units owned. So, and we're talking about Americans, and the makeup of some of those Americans are normally people that have a lot of Korean ancestry on their side, so to speak. So they could be Koreans that were Korean citizens. They went to the United States, became naturalized citizens, and now they come back to buy property. That's the second largest group of foreign property owners in Korea after the Chinese. So yeah, it is a thing. It's a smaller thing, but it's still a big thing. Practical steps if you're interested in buying property in Korea. People have asked me this as well. And that's something that we need to take a look at. Let me make sure I get everything. We don't got any other comments. Work with a licensed Korean real estate agent and lawyer specialized with foreign buyers. And depending on the area that you're in, like for example, we're in, it's a little bit bright. There we go. the area that we're in, you have a lot of foreigners, you have soldiers, their family members, you have contractors, you have some retirees like me. So there's the Korean realtors that are here are more well versed in selling to foreigners and the process that is involved than somebody that would be way out in the country where there's little to no foreigners, you know. So, and here's the other thing. People will ask me, hey, can you recommend a realtor? No, I can't. Realtors in Korea are kind of different, and we talked about this when I showed you the Eivor real estate, one of my past videos. Of usually you look up the listing, it's kind of like Zillow, Eivor real estate, and you can look up properties, apartments, houses, villas, whatever it is, and then at the bottom of the listing you'll have the listing agent, so you contact that agent. Now, generally agents will show you the properties that they have listings for. So, for example, there's like 155 properties that are for sale in these brownstone apartments. A person that I know got with the realtor of a property here, and they said, "Yeah, oh yeah, we have listings at Brownstone." And so they looked at them and they're like, "Yeah, this is too small. We want something bigger." They didn't have any listings, so the realtor said, "Yeah, there are no more listings." I think there was something lost in translation because they didn't have any personal listings, but there's still a lot of properties for sale. There's like 150 or whatever it is properties, units for sale in Brownstone, but they only had like 10 listings or whatever it was, I can't remember, but which is different than the United States. So you'd have to contact that realtor, again, a different realtor with their contact information. So it's not like the United States where you get a realtor and they'll just show you any and everything. Okay, so I haven't seen that yet. So just be aware of that and ask about that. So if you like a property, again, look at the contact information, and it's important to ask them are you well versed, and have you sold properties to foreigners? You know, if they haven't, I probably got to find one that does. So budget for taxes. Acquisition tax is around 4.6%. You have registration fees, you have education fees, or rural fees, taxes, whatever. That is something. So when you see these properties listed on like Eivor Real Estate, be like 260 million won or 500 million won or whatever the price is, that's not including the additional taxes and fees that you're going to have to pay. Some are one-time fees and taxes. Things like that, VAT tax basically, those are not included in that price of the listing. So keep that in mind. Sultan pops up and says, Korea is actually pretty fair to foreigners. I know a young couple from Hong Kong, and they opened their own cafe in Hongdae recently, and they're actually doing well financially. Cool. That's awesome. That's always good to hear that. People making a jump, and especially if they're still working, going to a foreign country and starting a business, and it's good. That's good. I'm as a United States citizen, I'm all for foreigners coming to the United States. Hell, my family were immigrants from Europe, so it's like, if you can be a productive member of society, you're more and pay your taxes and follow the laws and assimilate into that country, then I'm all for it. So it's good to hear. Man, that's always good to hear. People doing good. Corsair, the pirate, says, hello, what's the gym situation over there off base? Oh, it is a little rough. It's a little expensive. You just got back from the gym. I haven't hit it there yet. I'm going to be hitting, after this, got another gym day. It's going to be arm day. But off post, it is expensive. It is at a premium. Oh, good Lord. It is, it's not going to be like Planet Fitness. It's not going to be like 24-hour fitness. It's not going to be the prices at Gold's Gym. You can get a monthly payment plan for going to the gym, unlimited gym. It is really high here in Korea. And I think that's due to the high real estate and commercial real estate prices and what they have to pay for that space. And then, of course, they have their utilities, the overhead, and all that stuff. It was just like, there's one place that's right across the street. And I want to say it was, let me see if I remember, no, it wasn't that much. Yeah, it was over $100 a month, and some of them are even more, and some of those just kind of doing a cursory search and stuff like that. Some of these places you get X amount of times per week with a trainer. Of course, that there's a trainer fee, but if you're just doing the gym, it is really expensive. I was just like, hey, I'd like to try a gym close by, a Korean gym, and see what happens, because it's closer. Good Lord, it was like they didn't have as much equipment as what we have access to on the military base and the gyms there. So I was just like, yeah, it's expensive. Um, but that could be a good idea. Maybe I could go around and check some gyms and stuff like that and see what some of the prices are. Do another, I don't know about going to the gyms or whatever, but just maybe doing an online search on Naver maps and things like that and see what the prices of the gyms are. But it's generally the place that I checked. It was way too expensive, too rich for my blood. So, Sultan says, Corsair, it's leg day for me too. I hate it. Anyway, back to my sets. Not yesterday. Yesterday was my off day. Monday was shoulders and legs. Today's going to be arms day. And then today is what? Wednesday? Today's Wednesday. Thursday will be another leg day. Friday will be chest and back, and then I'll have the weekend off. So I'm trying to do more work on my legs because I'm big up top, but my legs need work. But yeah, it's hard to. I generally don't like leg day. When I first started leg day, that's a whole new level of pain. I mean, you get sore from your biceps, triceps, chest, back, whatever, abs. That's fine. Traps. I am all for that. And I can do that. And it's uncomfortable and sore. I get it. But doing squats and doing hack squats and that pain that comes from doing that, that's just a whole new level of pain for me. And it took a while to get used to. Let's see. Brett Yulton. Hey, welcome to the channel. Says Gold's Gym in Australia is $20 a week. Premium is $30 a week, 3 to 4, so 120. Wow. But I don't like Gold's Gym anymore. Did you see the scuttlebutt on Gold's Gym? Ooh, in the United States, it ends up where in the women's locker room, there's a lady in there, and then there was a trans person. In other words, a person that was born a man that is pretending to be a woman or believes that they're a woman or think they're a woman, whatever it is, was in there and was making people feel very uncomfortable. And obviously, isn't it funny how it's always the guys that want to go in the girls' locker rooms, but it's never the trans men, the women who were born women that want to be a man that go into the men's locker rooms? That never happens. I actually saw an interview with a number of trans men where the interviewer, I wish I could find a video, but basically he would go up to these trans men and say, well, what locker rooms do you use? And it's like, we'll use the women's one. And it's like, basically, well, why is that? Well, we feel safer. So it's weird that Gold's Gym allowed this person, and even though the woman was in there and there's other situations where trans go into women's locker rooms, with their young children dressing or women and they're uncomfortable, but suddenly we have to let one person ruin and make all the other women feel uncomfortable because they're in there. And again, you're talking somebody that has something swinging between their legs, and Gold's Gym is just like, screw it, deal with it. That is insane. You're alienating a ton of your fan base, and that just rubbed me the wrong way. I mean, could you imagine if you had a teenage daughter in a Gold's Gym locker room and you had this woman guy, and then you look at the sexual assaults of trans women in locker rooms and young people, and it's just not, just use the men's locker room. You want to dress up and think you're a woman, but if you still got a stem on your apple, yeah, you just need to change in the men's locker room. And I don't care. I don't care what you do. But when you start making women and children feel uncomfortable. And again, it's just not good. It's just not good. But, yeah, that just kind of gets up my nose. I don't know. Maybe it's because I have a wife and a daughter. All right. Maybe that's it. So anyway, yeah, ways that expats can take advantage of the exchange rate here in Korea is pretty good because it lessens your expenses, and that's usually why people retire overseas, is because the expenses are less than what they were in the United States. And I can personally attest to that because our expenses were saving about, what was it, half? Let me see if I can pull up some notes on that. Excuse me. Taxes in Korea, bulking apartments, blah, blah, blah. K10 materials, brownstone monthly expenses. Here we go. Let me see if we can figure this out here. So, yeah, so we got this here. Boom. So we got some expenses here, and we'll just kind of go over this. So here's our apartment. Now the housing, since we bought our apartment, 4-bedroom, 2-bath, about 1,500 square feet, underground garage parking, elevator, maintenance, all of that stuff. It's actually up to $20 a month for property tax. Yeah, it's apartment fee is about $175, which includes electricity, water, trash. We pay $64 for the heat in our property. Internet and 250 cable channel TV is $30 a month. Our 2 cell phones with unlimited service, we bought our phones outright, is $80 a month for both of our phones, unlimited. Water filter water filter service is $9 a month. So yeah, it's about and then we got Spotify and some other stuff on there. So yeah, it's about $500 per month. There is some registration that we have to pay for, like vehicles and things like that. But really, the amount of money that we pay is way less than what we paid in the United States. So, yeah, property tax on the property, like I said, our property tax for this 4-bedroom, 2-bath is about $20 a month now. In the United States, our property tax is, well, right now, I just checked it a few days ago, it was like $3,000 a year. So divide that by 12. So that's $250 a month. Yeah, a little bit cheaper. Electricity in the United States, when we were paying, was $140 a month average. Korea averages $40. Gas heat in the United States was $90 to $100 a month. Generally, from what we're averaging, is about $65 a month here in Korea. Water in the United States was $40 a month. Here in Korea, it's about $10. Trash, we were paying $20 a month. Our apartment fee, which included, the trash, the water, electricity, and stuff like that. There's no separate category from that, but it's definitely less than what we were paying in the United States. Internet in the States was anywhere from $70 to $120 a month, depending on your speeds. Here in Korea, we get high-speed internet. It's $15 to $20 a month. And cable TV is about $15 a month. In the States, it was about $125 a month. Car insurance in the United States was about $115 a month. We just recently got our car insurance here in Korea lowered because we don't drive our cars much. So it's about $95, $96 a month. But with the high exchange rate, it even brought that down even more. So, of course, there the pirate says, my property tax is $6,200 a year. Oh, good Lord. Seriously? What is $6,200? Divide that by 12. That's $516 a month. Dude, that's a part-time job just for your property tax. Verizon, 1 gig is $90. Wow. Yeah, we found that things were cheaper, and we were in southern Colorado, if that gives any context to our situation, but we're paying about half of what we were paying in the United States. And granted, we bought and paid in full our 4 bedroom, 2 bath apartment. So the largest expense that we have is not an expense at all. It is just absolutely crazy on the money that we're saving. Of course, there says Loudoun County, Virginia. Okay, Virginia. I'm a little familiar with West Virginia, around Wheeling, West Virginia. I had family members out there. Stepdad's family was from there, so that. But yeah, and when you start looking at how much are your increases each year on your property tax, like I said, ours was guaranteed $100 increase every single year. And so when you start projecting that out towards retirement, it's like, holy crow, I'm not going to be able to retire because my property tax is going to be insane. Let's see. Brett pops in and says, we have Telstra internet. It's like $155 a month, unlimited use. Wow. I know. And that was some of the concerns. We had Korean family members that live in Korea. We looked at Numbeo, which shows, estimates and, for towns and cities around the world and stuff like that. It's just, it was like, yeah, is it really that low? And sure enough, we checked it and verified it with our Korean family members that still, that are here in Korea, the wife's family. And it's like, wow, we can really save some money by retiring over here. So yeah, we're saving half, definitely half. Corsair the Pirate says, what's the story with health insurance in Korea? Yeah, it's not bad. Since I'm a military retiree, my healthcare insurance that I get for being a retiree, I can use that in lieu of the Korean national health insurance, which comes out to about $100, $110 a month. So you get good quality care. It's basic care, things like that. We decided not to get that, and you can use the military TRICARE overseas insurance in lieu of that. So there is that option there. So whatever you're paying, for that, there are some people that have both. So they have both the Korean national health insurance and they have the TRICARE overseas. And, some people like doing that. They pay double, but, I guess there's some benefits to that they see. But we just have our military health care. Talking about small, they try to keep increase low by dropping the rate, but it goes up. Oh, for the, property tax. Yeah, ours is going up $100 a year, guaranteed. So, and that's what happens. And it's just a shame because, places, especially if they're a liberal type of city, state, whatever it is, generally you'll have some higher taxes as compared to some more conservative states. I'm an independent, so I'm in the middle. But I don't like the high taxes. Corsair asked a question, if you are on F4. I'm on an F1 visa. My wife has the F4 visa. So the F4 visa is for a returning Korean national or somebody with Korean ancestry. Have that visa. The F1, that's what I have, is a spouse of somebody who has an F4 visa. So that's how we get to stay here in Korea, through the wife's F4. I'm attached to her as her spouse with the F1 visa. So, and of course, there says not a military retiree. So yeah, you would have to use the Korean national health care. And there are, basic healthcare that all of the Koreans, there's like 50 million people here in Korea that participate, in some way, shape, or form. If you're a foreigner and you're on a visa, whether you're a student or business or, retiring like we do, you'll pay about $100, $110 a month. You get basic services and stuff like that, and the cutoffs. I'll see if I haven't really dived into that on, what are the caps and things like that, like you have with health insurance in the United States. So, how much do those pay? I'll have to look into that and get into the particulars and get that information because there's some other people that are asking about that as well. Terry Lay says, my property tax is going down a lot since I'm over 65 and I don't have to pay school taxes. Right? Yeah. I mean, I don't think property tax should be a thing anyway. Seriously. And especially if you pay off the property. And especially if you hit retirement. You shouldn't have to pay school taxes or hell, property tax. That's just not a thing. So, yeah. Corsair says, right, I would be on the F1 and need to get insurance at some point. Yeah, after you get your F1, whether you get it prior to coming to Korea and then you fly to Korea, you set foot, hey, here's my F1 visa, your entry into Korea. And about 90 days later, you will get a letter saying that you need to participate either in the Korean National Health Insurance Program or you need to have some type of health insurance that would meet those same requirements. So, but if you're just doing the Korean National Health Insurance, yeah, you get their address, you get the letter, you either sign up, and we got the letter in the mail. It's like, okay, and then we submitted the documents showing that we have our military health care that meets all those requirements, so they were good to go. But yeah, you can get that stuff taken out of your bank account, and boom, you get your little card, and you go, yeah, get your health care. It's good to go. Pretty good service. Depending on the hospital that you go to. Let's just throw that out there right now. Matter of fact, we use Good Morning Hospital for the majority of our stuff. Just, the normal stuff. If there's anything more important, we go up to Samsung Medical Center. It was interesting because a person that works in the healthcare industry in Korea told us and said, yeah, that her favorite two hospitals are Samsung Medical Center and St. Mary's for foreigners. So that's saying something. So if you need big stuff, and what do I mean by big stuff? Probably any surgeries. I would definitely go to Samsung or St. Mary's. They're really, really good hospitals, newer, more advanced equipment, better, everything's better in Seoul. That's, of course, everything is. But if those two hospitals are the big ones to go to. And then I was suggested, like it's time for a colonoscopy. I'm getting that age. And yeah, those are also fun. But I was recommended to go to Samsung Medical or St. Mary's for that procedure because they're just a lot better up there. So I could get them done here in hospitals around here. But again, the less populated places, the service is going to be just a little bit less. And in some places, if you're out in the sticks, just like any other place in the world, yeah, your mileage will vary. Let's just put it at that. So, yeah. Yeah. So you got to go to Seoul every once again. It's a thing, but it works out well. Let me see. Matter of fact, I think I did some searching on that. Let me see if I could find that. Because I know I was working at that at some time. Coverage, caps. So we'll see. We'll see if I can find that. Gonna look at a couple of places. So yeah, the health insurance thing is pretty good. People also ask me, being an American citizen, how much Korean do you speak and how does that affect your medical care? Places like Good Morning Hospital that are close to us, they will have an international healthcare office. So they will have nurses and people that schedule appointments that can go with you on your appointments to speak to the Korean doctors, and there'll be a translator. So at least you have that intermediary, somebody who's doing the translating, so you can get the healthcare done. I know a number of people that just take their phone and they just do Google Translate, and that's how they do. They schedule their appointment. Hey, I'd like to schedule my appointment, and that's how they do that. Yeah, a little cumbersome at times, but that's what they end up doing. So yeah, it is quite the interesting little thing. Let me see if I can think that. My wife speaks Korean. Friedrich speaks Korean. She was a Korean citizen, obviously. So there's that, and she helps translate at times. For the most part, I don't use a translator from the hospital. Good Morning Hospital has an international office. Samsung Medical Center, St. Mary's has a international office to help out foreigners, and they'll have people that will speak English, Tagalog for Philippines, Russian. I've seen people who spoke Russian get seen by in Samsung Medical Center. Staffs, English-speaking staff, Russian-speaking staff, and stuff like that. So, yeah, it's a big thing. There's more and more foreigners coming to Korea. So these bigger hospitals have international offices. So if you want to schedule an appointment, you call them up, and I'm able to speak to them in English and schedule appointments, no problem, or whatever it is. They are the point of contact that you go to for any medical care that you want to do. You can get your appointments, referrals, whatever it is, and it makes it a lot easier. So, yeah, there's that. Let's see. If I can find that information. Is it? No, that's kind of what it is. National. So we're talking about the national. Here I do have some information on that. So the question for Corsair is, and others have asked, well, what does national health insurance pay for? It covers all medical necessary treatments with no annual or lifetime limits, inpatient, outpatient care in hospitals and clinics, emergency rooms, surgeries, hospitalization, doctor visits, diagnostics, MRI and CTs. Korea has the most machines per capita in the world. Prescriptions, often 3,000 to 10,000 won per medication, but not, again, it kind of depends on the medication. Cancer treatment, dialysis, rare diseases, often 90 to 95% of those are covered. Dental, basic fillings, cleanings, partials, again, kind of just basic dental care. Traditional Korean medicine sometimes, acupuncture, maternity, childbirth, mental health, rehab, preventive checkups, free biannual for adults, not fully covered, 100% out of pocket or partial or cosmetic procedures, dental implants, orthodontics. You might get up to 50% off of that. LASIK and stuff like that, experimental treatments. Private rooms in hospitals are going to cost you extra. Otherwise, you're going to just have a normal hospital. In a Korean hospital, you might have roommates. So you might have 3, 4, 6 people in the same room. With a little curtain thing. That happens. When I went to Samsung Medical Center, the cool thing was when I got my eye surgery for my detached retina and retinal tears and all that stuff, I had a pretty intense thing. I got to have my own room. So, but that's with the military coverage that I have, the health insurance. I don't know if somebody with Korean National Health Insurance would be given the same room. So, but you do have the option to pay an extra fee on top of that to get your own room. So, you keep that in the back of your mind if you want to have your own private room. Many expats buy cheap private supplemental insurance, which is about 30 to 100,000 won a month for dental, vision, and private rooms. Again, it's a little other stuff. No annual deductible. You pay a copay from day one. Copays, outpatient is 20 to 30%. So a doctor visit could be anywhere from 10 to 20,000 won total. So you'll pay 3 or 6,000 won or 10,000 won, whatever. Hospital outpatient is 30 to 40%. Inpatient is 10 to 20%, but that is capped. Prescription fees are low in Korea compared to the United States. I can attest to that because we get our medications, compared the prices, and it's lower in Korea. So that's kind of a good thing there. Catastrophic out-of-pocket cap for major protection. Annual ceiling on copays based on your income. 5 to 8 million won a year maxed out of pocket for covered services. Once that's reached, national healthcare insurance covers 100% of further costs that year, including serious illnesses. For severe diseases like cancer, heart attack, often 5% is the copay. So, real world example, a 10 million won hospital bill might cost you only 500,000 won to a million after the national healthcare insurance plus the cap. So, yeah. When you sign up for the Korean National Health Insurance, you'll get your card mailed to you, or you can pick it up at the branch office, and it's just like an insurance card in the United States. You go to the hospital, you show them your card, multi-pass. And then hospitals and clinics, most accept foreigners. Severin, Samsung Medical, Asan, that's another big one. They have English-speaking services to help you out. Refunds, if you overpaid on a copay, which happens from time to time, those can be refunded automatically, which is nice. When you leave Korea, notify NHIS for refund for unused premiums. Private add-on recommend for dental or faster specialist services. Cigna Alliance plans for expats. I have no experience in that, so that might be a thing. Overall, it's pretty good. It's low coverage, low cost, good coverage, good savings compared to the United States healthcare. But the healthcare thing is, with the Korean National Health Insurance, though, the one caveat is you can't use it outside Korea. You cannot use it outside Korea. So if you sign up for the Korean National Health Insurance and you go overseas somewhere else, let's say you go to Philippines or Thailand to vacation and something happens, your Korean health insurance will not help pay for emergencies or treatment outside of Korea. So you'll still need to get some travel insurance, or you'll have to pay for it or use other health insurance to pay for those things. So, yeah, and again, it's about $100 a month, depending on the exchange rate. Your mileage will vary. But, yeah, that's just some of the information I found on on that. Let me see if I got some other information. I'll see if that pops up on the notes that I have. Because I save stuff and then you just kind of throw it into a document and save it. And sometimes I use it for a video, sometimes I don't. What was the other stuff? I had a comparison thing. And where is that? Of like Korea versus the United States. And the advantages of Korean National Health Insurance over like the United States. It's universal and mandatory, no uninsured gaps, no pre-existing condition denials, lower costs, a fourth or a fifth of unsubsidized care like you have in the United States, no deductibles. Effective catastrophic protection prevents medical bankruptcy, which is rare in Korea, but in the United States, it's a thing. One system, one card, prices are regulated nationally. The same MRI cost, you're going to pay the same, whether it's in Busan, Pyeongtaek, Seoul, or up, near Camp-Page or Chuncheon. All of those costs are regulated to be kept the same. So it's not like the United States where you have healthcare where if you're in Podunk, USA, an MRI is going to cost $100, but if you're in Los Angeles or New York or something like that, an MRI is, $2,000. You don't have that discrepancy in prices. So that's another great thing about Korea is that they make the prices the same. So it is really good. better value. Korea spends half per capita, yet has a longer life expectancy, lower infant and maternal mortality, and high patient satisfaction. So there's that. It is, yeah. So maybe I'll do, I've got my chart that I've been working on. Between the coverage of like American plan or American healthcare versus South Korean and stuff like that, private insurance and all of this and coverage and things like that, copays. Let me see. Yeah, it's definitely a lot cheaper than like out of pocket maximum for Korea. Income-based catastrophic cap is 3,500 to 6,000 average middle income. Once hit, 100% is covered, like cancer is at 5% or whatever. In the United States, you're looking at almost $10,000 for an individual, or 18 or 19,000 for a family, according to 2025. Subsidies lower for less than 400%. Oh, good Lord. Wow. Yeah, you're going to be paying some big bucks in the United States if you got big problems. Let's see. Sultan pops in and says, I came from Hong Kong, a top-tier city, had private healthcare, and it was good. But now that I'm in Korea, even though I'm relatively affluent area, but the healthcare here feels way better overall. That's good, especially if you consider the value you get for the cost. And a lot of people say that. The Korean National Health Insurance and what you get compared to the United States anyway is pretty good. It's still a different system than the United States. You still get healthcare, but the way that they do the healthcare is a little bit different. It's more assembly line. So, for example, when I had the eye problem with my detached retinas and retinal tears, the numerous retinal tears that I had, which is a thing for people with astigmatism, which I was never told in the United States. It only was I told that when I was here in Korea, that I should have been warned about that and gotten checks for these things. But apparently that's not a thing in the States. Crazy. But in Samsung Medical Center, you would have, instead of having like one office where you go get your eyes checked and dilated and do all that, they would have like 5 or 6 different stations of doing the exact same thing, because you have so many people. So there's a ton of people. It's fast, it's loud, it's efficient. The hospital systems are overworked. I mean, it's true, but they're really good at seeing a mass amount of people in a short amount of time. But I think they're at the peak of what they're doing. So they need to hire more doctors and nurses, but apparently that's not going to be a thing. But the quality of care is really good. So when I got my eyes checked, and then they're like, we're just about to leave. And they're like, hold on. No, we had the doc take a look at your test results, and no, we're going to work on you that day. So they fit me in, they got some more tests, and I would say within a half hour, I was sitting down in front of a machine, and then they were fixing the retinal tears that I had. And then they scheduled on the appointment for my detached retina on my other eye. So yeah, as soon as they saw the emergency, there was a sense of urgency, and we're going to fix this right now, blah, blah, blah. Do you any questions? No, it's like fix it, boom, go, and schedule the surgery. Whereas in the States, not so much. I had my gallbladder out because my gallbladder was necrotizing inside my body. I go see the doctor, and they're like, you need to schedule and get a surgery. It's going to be a couple of months before we can do that, unless you, and I had gone to the emergency room, unless you have further pain, wink, 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 and you come in again for that pain that you're experiencing that is really bad, wink, wink, knock on wood, then they will schedule you for a surgery. It was like I couldn't keep down food. And when the surgeon did the surgery to take on my gallbladder, the technical term he said is that my gallbladder was littered with gallstones, And he couldn't understand how I was walking because it would have necrotized to the point. And he's like, "How much pain are you in?" And I'm like, "Well, it sucks." He's like, "I don't understand how you could stand up straight." And again, my gallbladder was necrotizing, dying. So, but yeah, they were totally fine with me waiting 2 to 3 months to get a surgery appointment. But the emergency room doctor kept winking and telling me, if you experience more pain and it's worse pain, wink wink, they will schedule an emergency surgery, which is good because the surgeon actually said if you had waited any longer, it might not have gone well for me. Even with the surgery that I got, I had complications. I had to go back and get another surgery. So yeah, it's not like that here in Korea. Aside from the crazy stuff like the doctor strike that we had, that was all prior to the doctor strike. With the doctor strike, they were pushing appointments out 6, 8, 10 months because there was no doctors. Emergency rooms were running not 24/7. You had off days for emergency rooms in certain hospitals. People were not being able to get care. They had somebody that had a heart attack. They went to 7 different hospitals. They all got turned away and then they died. Yeah, in other situations. But now the doctor strike is over, but it's still going to take a couple years to get back to the pre-doctor strike medical care appointment times. So, for example, for my mental health issues, I'm going to Samsung Medical Center this next month. It took 3 months. I had to wait like 2.5 months to get the appointment for December to see a mental health guy. And the whole reason I want to do that is so I can get a 90-day supply of prescription instead of having to go to Good Morning Hospital and get a subscription or a refill every 30 days. And when I asked the reason for that, why can't we do 60 days or 90 days? Well, it's a smaller hospital, according to the doc, and said, well, it's a smaller hospital and we're not authorized to give longer prescriptions because that's how they make their money. So every 30 days, I got to make an appointment to see a doctor and do a little copay and whatever. This last time, I think it was like 73,000 won is what I ended up paying, which comes out to, about half of, whatever the exchange rate is. No, dang it. Dang it. Pressing all the wrong buttons. Which is about $50. So seeing the mental health guy to get my appointment, to get my refill for every 30 days is, that amount of money. So but yeah, the Korean hospitals are really good if you go to a good Korean hospital. And again, your mileage is going to vary. They also have clinics. The good thing about the Korean National Healthcare Insurance is that you can go to the smaller clinics, like small town clinics where, you just see a doctor and for the normal cold and flu and basic stuff, you're covered on those things. So it's pretty good. So there is a benefit to that. But we just do our military TRICARE Overseas Select, and that works good for us. So, yeah, we get some money. It costs like $50 in copay. But when I get my medication, and then I also get a refund from TRICARE of about $20 to $25 each time. So, for example, it'll end up being like $25 overall when all is said and done with my TRICARE Overseas Select. So, yeah, it's not bad, and we're trying to be healthy. So, but yeah, like Sultan says, you get good value for your cost. But if you're really concerned, big stuff, St. Mary's, Samsung, Asan, all of those up in Seoul, the big ones, usually they'll have an international office to deal with foreigners, and you're in like Flint. It's good to go. So the latte is done. It's almost 9 o'clock. Holy crow. We've been at this for 2 hours. So anyway, that's what we got going on. We're going to finish up this video. We talked about Eivor, the guy, the dude. He is done. He's finished and painted, and he really turned out good. the paint job on that. Resin printed and painted him up, finished him up yesterday. Good to go. I love it. Then we talked about the Thai immigration, how they're tightening up on visa runs and people that are abusing the tourist visas. That is all going away. So you're going to have a bunch of pissed off people that have been staying in Thailand through that loophole, and that loophole is going away. So that's going to be a thing. And again, you got to have money to retire overseas. Don't think that you're going to be able to skirt the system or the rules or the laws like you used to, because a lot of countries are tightening up their immigration laws or are actually enforcing them or making new ones. So there's that. The other thing we talked about is real estate in Korea, the advantages of expats and the high exchange rate, and then we got off into the weeds with medical here in Korea, and it's really a good system. It really is a good system. Yeah, it is. They're still being overworked. They need more doctors, but I don't know. Maybe someday they'll allow more doctors, but we'll see how that goes. So we're going to end this up. So everybody, Sultan, Corsair, Terry, Brett was here. Who else we had? We had Terry, CB, he's gone, and a couple other people. Nedventive almost retired. We had a number of other people. We got about 6 right now, but thank you for watching. I appreciate that. Everybody else that watches after the fact, be sure to like and subscribe to the channel. I would really appreciate that. And of course, with the obligatory outro, if you want to contact me, there's my email address. I answer every single email. So if you, Corsair, if you have questions about our experiences here in Korea, absolutely free. Share the experiences. I don't sell anything. I'm gladly share the information of being retired here in Korea on the F4 and F1 visa. And yeah, or if you just want to say hi or show me pictures of your dog or whatever, doesn't really matter. It's just kind of fun. Someone says, have a good one. And to that, I will say, everybody else have a good one as well. There's some people over here that bought me coffee, which is cool. If you want to do that, link in the description. But again, the best thing that you can do is like and subscribe to the channel. And with that, I think we will call it a day and we'll end this stream. So thank you, everyone. We will see you on the next video. Peace. Peace, peace. Love it. Good stuff. Enjoyed it.